Hello and welcome to Career Nuggets, the career development program designed to educate, inspire and enlighten you with bite-sized ideas for your career progression. I'm your host, Morenika Ajayi, and each week I'll discuss a career-related topic with special guests from various professional fields. And today's topic of discussion is how to break through the glass ceiling, dealing with stagnation in the workplace. Some of us might have experienced hitting a halt in our careers, a halt known as the glass ceiling, a well-known term used to describe why some employees struggle to attain and reach upper management positions. The glass ceiling somewhat imposes a barrier at the point of promotion. It usually has nothing to do with your experience or your education and is known to commonly affect women and some minorities. A survey of 3,000 members of the Institute of Leadership and Management, ILM, found that 73% of female respondents felt barriers still exist for women seeking senior management and board level positions in the UK. In contrast, just 38% of men believed there is a glass ceiling altogether. So how does one break through the glass ceiling? I'll be discussing this and more with today's special guest. Today's guest on Career Nuggets is Kelly Fryer. Kelly is the Managing Director of Chrysalis Consulting. She's an expert in the field of customer service. Her background is in HR, working across the retail, education, private, and housing sectors. And on that note, I would like to welcome Kelly Fryer, the CEO of Chrysalis Consulting.
Hi.
Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Your career journey?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently, as you've said, the CEO of Chrysalis Consulting, and we are a consultancy that specialise in culture change and leadership and management development, as well as running specific development courses for women in business. So we focus around areas such as fear, presence and impact, and building personal brand.
Interesting.
Prior to that, I had a 16-year career in HR. I was appointed as the UK's youngest HR director in the organisation that I was with prior to starting Chrysalis, and have really worked in HR from the age of sort of between 18 and 19 and progressed from there.
So I'll say you're a HR expert.
Maybe. Let's see. Let's see what comes out.
Okay. Remember, you two at home can get involved with the conversation. Email or tweet in your answers to the questions on screen, and I'll read some of your comments later on in the show. So, a glass ceiling, it can be described as an unseen barrier, hindering one from progressing in one's career. What's your understanding about it?
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's this invisible barrier, really, that is talked about and has been talked about for many years. As you said in your introduction, very commonly, really sort of termed with women in business. But as you said, it does affect minority groups also. I think the invisibility of it, for me, is really what sort of hampers ourselves, our own self-belief, from allowing us to get to that next level, whatever that next level is for us. So for me, I suppose I have a belief, and I think through some of the work that I do, that a lot of it stems from us and our individual beliefs in where we think we can get to ourselves.
Okay, so is this something that you've experienced in your career journey, the glass ceiling?
I think for me, I've been extremely lucky throughout the whole of my career. It's not something that I myself have experienced, but I think from my HR career, it's been something that has actually been very visible, particularly for women that have wanted to progress, and maybe with their view of themselves and where they view their own skills and strengths. I think it has been something that I've seen throughout various different companies in my career.
Okay, so what sort of things have you seen in terms of describing? You said you've seen people. Yes. What sort of things have you seen?
I think they're varied. I think if you look for maybe an internal role, somebody that wants to go for an internal promotion, lots and lots of statistics out there, although they are changing, but on the whole, women do tend to want to be able to do at least 90% of the role, if not 100% of the role, before they would consider applying for it. Whereas a number of men, where they would look, again, statistics are changing, but men consider if they can do 60 or 70% of the role, then they feel that they're able and skilled enough to be able to go for that promotion. And I think being able to look at that and tackle the differences, why is it that men go for a much lower percentage than the women themselves when we look for either internal promotions or if we start to look for career opportunities outside of our current company.
Okay, thank you. Now, there was a time in my career whereby I was facing a glass ceiling and I was really gunning for a very senior position, but I just didn't think, I guess in myself, it was about not believing in myself.
Yeah.
But you came and delivered a talk at a Women's Network conference and gave some vital tips to me. Can you share with the viewers at home some of these tips, please?
Yeah, I think primarily just have the belief in yourself. So really understand what your own key strengths are, what your core skills are, and get comfortable with those. So I think that we sometimes have voices in our heads that tell us that we can't do things. So I think ignore those voices, have your own self-belief, and have a really good awareness of what your strengths are. I think when you've kind of looked at your strengths, we all have areas of development that we can look at. But I think, again, as women, we tend to see those as weaknesses as opposed to maybe development opportunities. And I think it's important, whether we are looking for internal progression or external progression, to identify that we have those development areas, but then look for opportunities to be able to take those forwards. And then I think finally it's just the confidence. I've probably come back to confidence quite a lot as we go through the talk today, but just have confidence and self-belief in yourself and believe that you can go for it.
And then just go for it.
Absolutely, just go for it.
Also, the statistics say it's common amongst women.
Yes.
But do you think this is an issue that men also face in terms of a glass ceiling?
I think for some, absolutely. And I think probably over the last few years, as more and more women, we've started to talk about much more equality in the workplace. And I think some men are actually finding that a struggle in themselves anyway. But I do think the glass ceiling is common across a number of different groups. Not so much within men, but again, it is something that's there. And I think through the way in which they are able to interact with their employees and their managers, if again they've been told that they can't do something, the voices in the head will, I suppose, stick to that, and they start to believe that they can't do it. Potentially, I think maybe a little bit more difficult for men if they hit the glass ceiling. I think it has become a very common term within women and is something that we seem to be much more comfortable talking to each other about.
Absolutely.
I think for men, they're not as comfortable talking about it. Maybe they're not even aware that they have hit that glass ceiling. And I think that's maybe something that we need to work on.
So what is it, if there's somebody out there that doesn't really know what a glass ceiling is, what are the symptoms of it?
I think, again, they can vary from organisation to organisation and individual to individual. But I think, as you've said, it is this individual barrier. And maybe if you have been, you're in an internal role, again, if you're looking for internal promotion or if you're looking for something externally, it's that invisible barrier. So maybe you've gone for a couple of internal promotions and you haven't got them. Maybe you haven't sought the feedback. Maybe you've been told by managers not to apply for a certain role, or maybe you've tried to work in a different area of the business. And again, you've been told or you sort of discussed maybe not going for that particular promotion. But I think the symptoms can vary. Again, from organisation to organisation and from individual to individual. But I think it's with it being that invisible barrier, it's whatever we feel is holding us back. And I think if we do feel there is something holding us back, then I think we need to explore that a little bit more in ourselves to find out what it is that we need to do to kind of crack through that invisible barrier and that glass ceiling.
Okay, thank you. So just picking up from what you've been saying, is it about the individual or about the organisation in terms of the glass ceiling? Who has a part to play?
I think both do. I think from an organisational perspective, again, as we've been seeing over recent years, I think from an organisation perspective, I don't necessarily think all of the talent management programmes and all of the talent management strategies over the last few years have done enough to include everybody within that. Okay. I think some of them have been tailored very much for a particular group of people. Okay. And whether that has been men or women, I think that can very much vary. But organisations absolutely have a part to play. Okay. And I think by making sure that they have an inclusive talent management programme and talent management strategy that encourages people to apply for other roles, I think that's absolutely key. Okay. From an individual's perspective, again, I think if we've been given the opportunities, I think we need to look at whether we take them or not. Mm-hmm. You may get some knockbacks. Potentially, you may not have been the most experienced person for that job, the most knowledgeable or the most skilled. But I think, again, it's having that self-confidence in yourself. If you get a knockback, don't let that stop you from trying something again.
Yeah.
Use it as a learning opportunity. Ask questions, ask for feedback, and really, use that to help you grow. And if you do get the opportunity, then fantastic and well done. But again, use that as a learning opportunity. And maybe, again, then position yourself as a mentor or role model within the organisation to say, this is what I've done, and encourage other people to do the same.
I just want to explore that point about positioning oneself.
Yes.
I mean, how would one go about that?
Okay.
I think that's a vital point.
So I think positioning yourself, I think, again, that there can be lots of different ways to look at it. And I think, again, there are differences between men and women still in the workplace. I think women primarily, and still very much do, we are outperforming our male colleagues right the way through school. So through the education process, women are very much outperforming.
Really?
Absolutely. And we, statistics show that happens right the way through university. But actually, how we get rewarded for that and how we recognise that, we get our A on our piece of paper, or we get our result. Somebody will say to us, we've done a really, really good job. Yeah. I think as women, we then expect that to happen in the workplace, and we expect people to keep acknowledging all of the work that we do. And I think this is a huge leadership development opportunity, because a lot of leaders won't recognise that. And I think a lot of men, again, are still more confident in going and knocking on the right door, either of their manager or the managing director, and shouting about what they've done and the achievements that they've made. So really, they get themselves much more visible as a candidate that may be looking for promotion.
Oh, I see.
So I think we've either got to start shouting about it a bit more and telling people what we do in terms of our achievements, or maybe we've got to find a way of quietening our male colleagues.
Really?
We'll see how that works.
So really, in terms of, because obviously the cut glass ceiling, like I said earlier on, it's commonly associated with women.
Yes.
And is it for this reason, because they don't showcase themselves in the workplace, or?
I think it can be for a number of different reasons. I think sometimes, again, as I've seen throughout my HR career, sometimes it can be because we don't showcase enough. Sometimes it can be maybe we've just got married, we're planning on having a family, and in our own minds, we automatically think that actually if we're about to start a family, or we're involved with other things outside of work at the moment, maybe we don't want to take that on, and we want to focus our career elsewhere. But again, as I've seen through my HR career, just talking to people, and yes, you may be expecting a baby, you may be planning a family, you may be you've got other things outside of work, but don't let that stop you, and don't let that hold you back. Just go for it. If the role is right for you, just absolutely go for it.
Thank you, Kelly. I think this is a good time for us to go for a break, but do not go anywhere, as we will continue with our interesting discussion as soon as we get back. See you soon.